Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, big news around Windsor's tunnel bus. Plus, with what feels like a cannabis shop on every corner, some stores are trying new ways to attract buyers. More and more pet owners are struggling to take care of their beloved animals. They're leaning on local pet food banks or giving them up altogether. New rules out of the U.S. could mean big changes to the auto industry here at home. We'll tell you more later tonight. Let's start with the changes coming to Windsor Transit's tunnel bus. Expected changes at the border could bring back the special event runs. Dale Molnar has more now on what's to come.
Transit Windsor's tunnel bus is back to running its regular schedule, but the corporation has not been able to resume special events buses due to the requirement to provide proof of vaccination at the U.S. border. The public health emergency in the U.S. is set to end on May 11th. The executive director of Transit Windsor expects that will also mean the vaccine requirements will go away too.
We're also working to get a technology solution in place for people to book those special events tickets in advance. And we've had a few delays on that, but the vaccination policy is one of the primary reasons. And once that's lifted, we're hopeful we can get that up and running very soon.
Sports fans in Windsor welcome the return of the buses. These extra runs will match the event's schedule, so if an evening Tigers game ends in extra innings, there's still a bus they can catch.
I think it's a good opportunity for the city of Windsor. It brings more people and more fans of Detroit over to the venue over there, and I think it would be a good opportunity for the city.
I think it's great. You know, it allows more fans to come over to the States and kind of just especially for certain games, it kind of really helps coming over. And I mean, for us, no one has to DD, so I mean, we're free to do whatever we want all day.
So no more designated drivers for these guys. Ironically, as soon as special events buses will be able to run, the barriers for the Detroit Grand Prix will go up in downtown Detroit soon afterward and stay up until mid-June. Transit Windsor expects to run special event buses to the Grand Prix the first weekend in June, but they, along with the regular tunnel buses, won't be able to go past the Detroit end of the tunnel.
So our plan right now is to short turn the buses essentially at Mariners Church, drop people off, turn around and enter right back into the tunnel.
Motorists using the tunnel will also be able to travel to and from Detroit, but once again, there will be restrictions in downtown Detroit. Exact routes are being finalized, and the CEO of the company that runs the Windsor half of the tunnel says they will be making announcements about the routes when the information comes available.
One of the things when we do issue that media release, we're going to include maps as well, a very simple map that our customers can follow so they'll know the access points.
Brown does not expect the Grand Prix to cause any reductions in tunnel traffic, and in fact, usage may increase on Grand Prix weekend with people going to the race. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The rising cost of living has plenty of people making difficult decisions. For some, it could mean parting ways with their family pet. The Windsor Essex Humane Society says more people are surrendering pets and blaming costs. Take a look at the numbers. In 2019, 51 pets were surrendered for financial reasons, and that could be that the owner couldn't afford medical bills or to care for the animal. So far this year, affordability has been the reason nearly 100 pets have been surrendered. Pet food banks are also noticing a jump in the use. The food bank in Ford City sees about 600 pet owners a month picking up food. That's up 30% compared to last year.
They were living in the alleyway and kind of were hurt, so I just started feeding them, and it kind of turned into my cats, I guess.
How many?
There's 4 of them.
The Feeding Windsor Essex Pet Food Bank keeps a variety of pet food and supplies on stock. Volunteers say they hear from pet owners who would rather feed their animal than feed themselves. Others have been using the food bank to help neighborhood cats keep their bellies full. Apologies, bit of a technical difficulty there. Dozens and dozens of cannabis stores have cropped up across Windsor Essex since legalization in 2018. Shops are now trying something new to stand out and attract more customers, but not everyone agrees with some of the advertising. The CBC's Jason Vio explains.
What do you think of this sign? At the core of one man's concern is that a cannabis shop is advertising the chance to win a PlayStation 5, but that, he says, may entice people under the age of 19.
My thinking is, again, it's not just the PlayStation 5 they could win. It's the guy standing out in the front in bright clothes, dancing around. It's all these things that go together that is just indicating to youth that this is a fun thing, which is exactly what the Cannabis Act was designed to prevent.
But the shop owner says they're following all the rules. The contest doesn't require people to purchase anything. Instead, people provide their contact information for a chance to win. And the owner says a PlayStation 5 is something many adults play as well, not specific to teens or kids. Plus, nobody under the age of 19 can enter the building, with the owner saying young people get ID'd at the door.
We haven't had any trouble. Most of the signups have been people over 40. I mean, which was the goal, just for everyone to have some. Everyone was giving away TVs, so our team in LaSalle thought, you know what, let's do something different. And we thought about a couple ideas: scooters, bikes. I mean, you can say that about scooters. You can say that about TVs. If you wanted to say something, you can say it about anything.
The owner also says they cleared this type of giveaway with the AGCO. Here's what the Cannabis License Act says. Advertising may not appeal to or target persons under 19 years of age, and licensees may not provide anything or benefit as an inducement for the purchase of cannabis or a cannabis accessory. CBC News reached out to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario for clarity on this. They weren't immediately available to respond. Travis Lacey has also filed a complaint with the AGCO, but also hasn't received a response. In the end, Lacey says more needs to be done.
Are we doing enough to, deter youth from using these products, to educate the parents, to educate the students themselves on the dangers?
Lacey is a foster parent to a 14-year-old boy who walks past this sign and worries about the message it sends to teens like him. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
The U.S. is proposing strict new rules that would boost the number of electric vehicles on the road. As Katie Simpson tells us, it's a move that could transform the auto industry on both sides of the border.
Gas-powered vehicles are poised to be phased out as the Biden administration makes an aggressive push to go green.
I say that folks should fasten their seatbelts because this electric future is taking off.
The Environmental Protection Agency is proposing strict new regulations for tailpipe emissions. And for automakers to meet the standards, roughly 2/3 of all new auto sales will have to be electric by 2032.
This policy is going to go a long way to getting us towards our goal to get to net zero.
Environmental groups are largely welcoming the plan, and so is Ottawa. Canada is moving strongly in the same direction, says a statement from the Minister of Environment and Climate Change's office. Traditionally, Canada adopts the EPA's emissions requirements after they are finalized. Though Canada has set a higher target, aiming for 82% of all light-duty vehicle sales to be zero-emission vehicles by that same deadline.
The most important thing here for Canada is to continue to align with the U.S. EPA.
If these goals are to be reached, it will require massive infrastructure investments in both countries.
As it stands right now, we do not have nearly enough charging infrastructure to accommodate more electric vehicles on the road.
There's also preparing power grids to handle increases in demand. Automakers have to be able to scale up production. And then there's the price tag for consumers. Electric vehicles are generally more expensive. The EPA believes it can be done.
What we're looking at is a ramp-up period. We know that in the next couple of years, we're going to see automobile manufacturers offer a suite of products that will be attractive to consumers.
Some American auto workers' unions have previously raised concerns this could kill jobs since these kinds of operations require fewer people. For now, the UAW says it will study the proposals carefully. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Masks were one of the first emergency responses to COVID-19. As restrictions have eased over the last year, so have mask requirements. But now mandates are also being lifted in many hospitals. We told you about changes coming to Windsor, Essex. And here is the CBC's Christine Birak on why things are changing across the country.
In some parts of the country, masking in healthcare settings is still mandatory, but in most provinces, it's not or won't be for long. While many welcome the shift, human rights groups are concerned, and some are asking this question.
Why do you feel like now is the appropriate time?
BC's chief medical officer says mandatory masking in hospitals is being dropped based on COVID levels in the community.
As we've come through the respiratory season, we are seeing much less spread of virus. There's much less community illness.
Quebec and Ontario are leaving masking rules up to individual hospitals. Dr. Alon Vaisman is responsible for infection prevention and control at UHN, Canada's largest research hospital.
Our primary objective is always to keep patients safe.
He says masking will remain in all traditionally high-risk areas. Patients entering emergency rooms may still need to mask up, but fewer people may be wearing them in hospital lobbies, hallways, and elevators.
The risk to patients has dramatically changed over the last few years because of vaccination, because of previous infection, because of therapeutics. Patients are not as high risk of acquiring COVID and having bad outcomes with it as they were in the past.
Data show since January, the number of COVID-19 deaths in Canada has been steadily decreasing. The virus killed 113 Canadians during the last week of March.
Just need to grab a mask there, sir, and good to go.
PEI plans to drop mandatory masking next week, but health officials say they've helped.
If we have a large outbreak of influenza or RSV or COVID in the future as we get into the winter seasons, I think it would be quite reasonable to bring back masking in hospitals in certain areas.
And experts insist no one is telling Canadians not to wear a mask when going into a hospital or other healthcare setting. They're only saying it's not mandatory. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada's Minister of National Defence says Canada is committed to supporting Ukraine, comments she made to Ardell Molnar during her visit to Windsor. Today, she's confirmed that tanks sent to Ukraine are now in Poland. Anita Anand shared the news on Twitter. Her tweet reads, "All 8 Leopard 2 battle tanks promised by Canada for Ukraine have now arrived in Poland. We'll continue to stand with Ukraine and to provide Ukrainians with the tools that they need to fight and win this war." Canadian soldiers are already on the ground training Ukrainians to use the tanks. Ottawa says Canada has given $5 billion of military, humanitarian, and financial aid to Ukraine in the last year. A live look outside there, looking gray again, but we had a lot of sun throughout the day and a lot of heat as well. So much so that there was a special air quality statement issued. Colette Kennedy will join us after the break to tell us more. In an effort to protect minors from the lure of online gambling, the province is proposing new guidelines that would prevent sports stars and other celebrities from endorsing the companies providing these services. Greg Ross has the details.
We've all seen the ads.
Every game starts at bet99.net.
Sports stars like the Leafs' Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky.
Trying to practice here, Wayne. You need it.
Endorsing the use of online gambling sites that were legalized in Ontario last year.
How do you differentiate your product from your competitors? And one way of doing it is by using celebrity endorsements or by partnering with specific sports organizations.
This marketing instructor at York University says sports stars have a lot of appeal, particularly to a younger audience.
A lot of younger sports stars who are very social media savvy may have a strong social media following. So by virtue of partnering with them, you can leverage that strong social media following to generate new users of your service.
The Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission is concerned that these ads may appeal to minors, which is why they are proposing a change to advertising standards for online gambling. They want to prohibit the use of athletes, active or retired, as well as cartoon figures, symbols, role models, social media influencers, celebrities, and entertainers. This is not sitting well with those in the gaming industry. Paul Burns with the Canadian Gaming Association says they don't market to minors and take steps to keep them off their sites.
Minors cannot get access to gambling unless someone over the age of 19 resident account gives them that access. Because of the upfront requirements in setting up accounts that require ID, that verification.
But experts in the field of mental health and addiction say younger people are most vulnerable to gambling addiction.
Most males, anyway, who develop a gambling problem develop that problem during their adolescence. I think more educational efforts are needed about what is the outcome of gambling.
The AGCO is proposing that these changes go into effect in 3 months, which they say will give operators and suppliers sufficient time to comply. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
This little heat wave we're riding has everyone itching for summer. And we had our video producer, Mike Evans, pop out to the riverfront to see how people are handling the high temps.
Yeah, she's a nice one. That's a nice one.
So how long have you been out here today?
Since the sun came up this morning. About 6.
So the nice weather is finally here. Is this what you do to get out and enjoy it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
You think that we're out of the winter doldrums and the good weather's going to be here soon?
Yeah, I don't know. I heard somebody say it might snow on Monday.
This is my favorite place to walk in the summer when it's warmer. And yeah, it's just beautiful to see the water and people enjoying it.
It's Windsor and we know that it goes up and down. So we enjoy it while it's here and don't hold on to it too tight. Yeah.
Do you think, Dawson, that the summer is here to stay?
At this point, the summer is definitely here to stay. It's my first summer in Windsor, but I'm definitely enjoying it.
Oh, great. Where are you from?
I'm from up north, very far up north, Nunavut. I was born in Iqaluit, but I've just recently moved from Hull Beach. It's a small little town.
So Dawson, you're used to the temperatures up in Nunavut, so this is really something extraordinary for you, I would say, having this beautiful summer weather in April.
Yeah, of course. Having weather like this is usually about, honestly, the hottest day it gets up north.
You guys got to tell me, what's the weather like right now in Nunavut?
I'd bet you it's at least minus 20.
Hey, Dawson, is it that cold?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely still in the negatives. I don't even think the ice attached to the nearby water is left yet.
Colette Kennedy joins us now. Colette, hearing that is such a reminder of how grateful I feel to live in Windsor with our weather.
Yeah, I know what you mean in terms of some of the temperatures we're still seeing in Canada at this point. And often when I look at the cold spot in Canada for the day, it is in Nunavut. But today, not today, today it's in Yukon, where it's about minus 29. So here we are on the positive side with numbers like that. Really close to a record for Windsor, too. The highest I saw was 27.2, and we need to get to 27.5. So really borderline there with these mild temperatures and very mild evenings as well, with the sun setting after 8 o'clock. We keep some of this heat for a little while. And we also don't have much to contend with in terms of the winds. Winds fairly light overnight tonight, and then as we go into Saturday, we're also talking about the winds not being much of a factor. It is, however, I'll show you into Sunday where things will change with those. So a look at our imagery here, a few clouds over the lakes. Mostly it's sunny skies with that ridge of high pressure to find the active weather. It is along this frontal boundary here, well to the west of us still, and that's been kind of holding there for a few days without much change, with holding back the cold air because this ridge has really been blocking it. That will start to move to the east, and then we'll see things changing for the second half of the weekend. Also, some of that wet weather coming up the mid-Atlantic that caused that flooding in parts of Florida, especially around Fort Lauderdale. So that's finally kind of moving on there. Tomorrow, a few little showers trying to bubble up into Michigan. I would expect they will have died out before they could have an impact. So we're looking at mostly sunny skies, could be a little extra cloud cover in the morning hours. And then here we go into Sunday. So I've stopped it, 8 a.m. Good start to the second day of the weekend. Into the afternoon, I'd say be aware, once we get to even after lunch, but 2, 3 o'clock, not only some showers rolling in and some heavier rain at times, some thunderstorm activity certainly possible. It's a very sharp cold front because that much colder air behind and these warm temperatures we've had out front. What's helping us a little bit is that there's not a lot of humidity in the air, so that doesn't have that buoyancy to work with in that sense with the warm air. Into Sunday night, we will see this pushing on to the east and will be drying out, but still some lingering showers I've kept in the forecast as we go into Monday. Showing you those winds, like I said, kind of light tonight and tomorrow, and then watch how they're going to really pick up as that front approaches, as you might expect. So we will find them getting quite gusty as it approaches late into the afternoon on Sunday, and then until it moves on through. Overnight temperatures, yeah, very, very mild, double digits in most cases in terms of what we're looking at, 13 for Windsor. Tomorrow, I am putting us back to 27 degrees. I see more of a change in the temperature into Sunday, and obviously more of a temperature change into Monday.
Have to mentally prepare for that now.
Yeah, and we're going to bounce back pretty quickly, so don't worry too much about it.
Okay, that's good. I like hearing that. Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, an update from the U.S. in the case of the man accused of leaking highly classified documents. Stay with us. The man accused of leaking highly classified U.S. documents made a first court appearance today in Boston. 21-year-old Jack Teixeira was arrested yesterday by the FBI for allegedly posting state secrets online. As Chris Reyes reports, it has government officials rethinking the handling of sensitive information and who has access.
It's a beautiful day.
It's gorgeous.
The family of 21-year-old Jack Teixeira avoiding all questions as they walked into a courtroom in Boston. Teixeira, a U.S. Air Force guardsman, faced the judge for the first time since his dramatic arrest on Thursday in his home in Dayton, Massachusetts. The charges: unlawfully copying and possessing classified defense records. It's alleged Teixeira leaked dozens of classified documents and posted them on the social media platform Discord, including information on the war in Ukraine, angering some members of Congress.
I've never seen a leak like this that may, and I do emphasize may, have a real effect on the battlefield in Ukraine.
It's one of the most high-profile security leaks in the U.S. in recent years, prompting the U.S. Department of Defense to launch an investigation.
Department of Defense is leading an important effort now to evaluate and review the national security implications, and most important, to conduct a review of the methods of access, accountability, and control procedures.
According to court documents, Teixeira has had top secret security clearance since 2021 because of his job working in cyber defense operations. Some in the U.S. intelligence community say it's become too easy to get access to secure documents.
The more people you have involved in maintaining the systems, the more you're spreading around the information. But hopefully this will be a wake-up call.
Clearly there's an awful lot of work, a lot of congressional oversight work we need to do to fix these systems that are constantly allowing, or at least regularly allowing, our secrets to get out into the wild.
Teixeira hasn't entered a plea yet. He's facing 2 charges, each carrying up to 10 years in prison if convicted. He's being detained until his trial. He's back in court next week. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
We've got a bit of a neat story here before we go. A Spanish woman who spent the last year and a half in isolation in a cave came up into sunlight today, asking for a beer and calling her time in the dark amazing. The 50-year-old elite mountaineer was slow and shaking, but she was in good health. This was part of an experiment, and she was closely monitored by doctors. They did not contact her, though, until her time was up. She calls the 500 days she lived in the dark disorienting, saying time doesn't register and that it always feels like 4 in the morning. She spent her time reading, knitting, and trying to exercise. Scientists will use the information to study how isolation affects human health and sleep patterns. The climber is hoping that this was a world record. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For more, go to cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Have a good night and a great weekend.